Hello, I bought a couple of these USB chargers off eBay. You know, the sort of the cheap Chinese ones. I thought, well, everyone else has sort of taken some apart, so I thought I'd give it a test too. And what we got here? Can I focus? Well, this camera isn't very good at close focus, but you can generally see it's got a few markings. Well, China export. Bit of a rough cut. It's all good. See what the other one looks like. Yeah, but it's pretty much the same. Looks like they'll ping apart quite easy. Ah, that's better. So it's a universal in voltage and it claims 5 volts 1 amp. Yeah, I got them from some kind of a fashion website which didn't actually have any specifications on it. But of course, when you start looking around on other websites, yep, they all seem to claim about 1 amp. Well, I want to give them a quick test with a USB meter. Unfortunately, I can't find my dummy loads at the moment, so I've got an alternative. I'm going to cut off, use this cable here, and then use that speaker dummy load over there. I mean, that thing can take like 50 watts at least. Well, I think I'll plug them in, see if they go bang. So far so good. Oh, which way's it going? Oh, okay. Oh, I hate this. Upside down. So we got about 5¼ volts output, and in fact this thing reads a little bit low, so it's probably closer to 5.3 out. Oh no, 5.2, 5. It's a bit all over the place. How about this one? Okay, no pop. I guess that's a... oh, no. They are a bit jumpy. Let's see, read that again. Okay, that's about average about 5.2, let's say. Alright, let's try measuring it more directly. Let's bring it over here a bit. Where's that smell coming from? Nope, it's not that. I just cut down an old USB cable and just put a big old blob of solder on it. I will get this done. Right. See, am I going to electrocute myself? Oh, it's not live, that's good. Right. One down there, one there. It's probably more stable. 5.17. And what's this one offload? .22 ish, 2.3. Okay, it's a little higher. Can always double check what the reading is with another meter. If you can read it. Yeah. I like this little cheapy Chinese thing. Oh good, I wasn't on amps. 5.22. Yeah, they're reading the same. Okay, here's the messy setup. So I've got the USB adapter into a cable, and that's measuring the voltage directly. Those two just wrap round to here, and on the negative side it goes through this big old dummy load for speakers, through the amps range and back in. Let's see what happens if I plug it in. So it's about 16 ohms at the moment. Whoa, 5.5, so a third of an amp It's giving out nearly 5.5 volts. That can't be right. Maybe I disconnect this. Oh, it should. Wow. Unless it has one of those kind of flyback monitoring system inside of it. Right, let's reduce the resistance. See what happens. Oh, I'll get the other side. We've got about 0.4 and the voltage is dropping, of course. Okay, let's get it up, go up to 0.5 amp. Oh wow, you can't even handle 0.5 amp. About 0.4 amps is kind of limit. Let's see if we can do this a bit more accurate. Okay, that's, yeah, 0.42. The voltage is dropping, but the amps really isn't increasing. So, 0.447 amps. Well, hey! Let's see if the other one performs any differently. Yeah, it's not warm at all. Oh, plus that probably uses up to 20 milliamps for that little blue light. What have we got here? Sorry, 0.3 amps at 5.1 volts. That's better. Okay. Slowly crank it up. Ah, the voltage isn't changing much. That's good. Slowly, slowly catch your monkey. Oh, it's dropping down now. So at 5 volts is 0.49 amps. At 0.5 amp it's 4.9. Take it to... oh, let's take that back a bit. 4 3/4 volts is 0.52 amps. Take it down to 4.5 volts for the hell of it. 0.53, yeah, it's just, let's see. It's not warm at all. Interesting, so I wonder how it performs if I shove run it off 120 volts AC instead of 240. Right, see if I can pull out my little transformer somewhere. I thought I'd do one little quick check. Increase the power again to 0.5 amp. 0.5 amp, it went down to 4.9 volts. Yeah, that's fine. I'll leave it like that for about 20 minutes, just to see if anything goes. Well, I didn't wait 20 minutes, it's only been about 10. And, oh, that's getting quite warm. The voltage has dropped just a little bit and the current's about the same. I wouldn't say it's getting hot, but warm enough to think, something's not quite right here. Okay, I've got the extension plugged into my little transformer. Well, it's an isolation and step up, step down transformer in the corner. It's pretty heavy, so I'm just going to leave it in that corner. Let's switch it on, see what happens. Whoa, 0.19 amps. It only gives out about 3.4 volts. Wait a minute. Is this supposed to be universal? This one is. Oh, let's recheck this. Let's see. Is it readable? Oh, it's a bit hard to see through the camera. Yeah, input 100 volts to 240. And output 5 volts 1 amp. Huh. That's pretty useless. So how's this one going to perform, the bad one? Oh, and switch on. Okay, it's 4.5 volts. Ugh. Let's crank it up. Oh, it cannot do above 0.26 amps. Alright, I'll switch it over. Ah, now we've got 5.5. Oh, let's say 4.75-ish. Low volts. 3.3. Maybe I'll turn off the current limiting. Oh, smidgen up. Makes no difference. So, okay, back to 240 volts. Okay, I've connected up the scope. This scope is only 15 megahertz bandwidth, but for this test, you know, just consider it a 20 meg. Just increase the ripple by a little percentage. Got it connected down there, sort of pretty much on the output, and see what it looks like. Okay, not too bad, I guess. Should increase it even more. Oh, let's shove it onto AC. Zoom. So we're looking at about 1 volt per division. Oh dear, that's at half an amp. That's definitely about a 1 volt ripple. I'll zoom in a bit more. No, zoom out. That pretty much looks like the mains ripple on it. What happens if I decrease the ampage? Okay. Taking it down to 0.3 amps. You can see the switching. Again. That's quite mad. You can almost, as I'm slowly increasing it, you can just see the little ripples, the switching part come in and out. Let's put a bit more load on it. Oh right, yeah, that's, oh dear, 4.3 volts. That's just not good. It's about 2 volt ripple. Let's close that down and try the other one. On. Oh, that looks stable, but a much too high voltage. Right, let's just creep up the ampage. Okay. 0.4 amps. Down to 5 volts. 0.4 amps. About a volt ripple. Let's go a bit further. Ah, that's it. It says maxed out. It cannot do any more. See, can increase the time base. Oh, there seems to be a lot of noise on that. Come on, trigger. Oh, it's struggling. 2 volts of shadow above it. Yeah, that's strange. Crank it up a bit. Oh. So at 0.1 volts per division, we're at 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5. Oh, what a mess. Interesting. I think it's time to rip these apart. Better mark these before I forget. So this one is black, which is this kind of appears to be a good one. This is red. If you notice, buddies, it looks like it's slightly out already. Right, let's crank this open. Okay. If perhaps I should bring this down a bit more. Okay. Oh, is that nice? A little bit of rubber padding. No, not that side. Perhaps I can push this up a bit. Ah, it just falls out. Okay, short out the capacitors just in case. Intriguing. So it really is just, there's nothing fancy about it, it's just a couple of switching transistors. How about this one? I don't want to completely destroy it. Okay. I like that. There's some little sockets to put in instead of being soldered directly on. Right. Oh, let's see. Let's short that out. And short that out. So it's... Right, focus, there you go. It's very similar, just minus one transistor. I thought these might be a lot more complicated. I don't even think it's worth even attempting to fix them. I have no idea what capacitor brand that is. And this one here is, oh, it's caught right in the corner. See if I can see it. I don't know. Can't tell. Right, can I see the transistors in the camera? No, I can't. C945 P331, and that's for the left one. And for the right one, that says 13001. How about him? What's he got? I can't read that. It says 13001. I think it's the same. I think I'll reverse engineer these. So quite a few hours later, I've reverse engineered it, and now, out of curiosity, I'm going to plug it in and monitor just to see what kind of the voltage in the waveform looks at each point. Right, this is quite a messy setup. So I've got mains coming in from the top, going into the board. I've got a oscilloscope probe at times 10, showing over here, and they also got the DC voltage showing on the meter. Right, let's see how this goes. So right now I've got it set to 5 volts per div, well 50 volts really. And I should be able to, if I measure the mains straight off, well, not the mains, but, whoa, that's more than expected. $50 volts position, so that would be what, be 50. Oh yeah, it's gone beyond the range of this, hasn't it? Of course it has. That's a bit of a limitation with that scope. Oh, that was very awkward. I'm actually going to take it off camera and just show you afterwards. Oh, after doing a few checks, basically everything's at like 330 volts or zero. I suppose the only difference is got minus 4.1 on the base of the transistor and minus 5.9 down here. And coincidentally, 4.1 volts there for the feedback. So I'm going to put a little load on it just to see if there's any difference. Not much has changed. I placed a 0.4 amp load on it because that's about as much it would take. Half an amp and the voltage just drops down far too low. So it's about 5.1 volts at 0.4 amps. The input voltage dropped down to 266 volts. I think I might have a bit too much aggressive current limiting. But for the most part, everything's the same. Off or on load, that's still like minus 6 volts. The feedback changed slightly. Off load is minus 4.1, on load is minus 7.5. And off and on load is basically the same. Oh, sorry, I've scrapped the idea of trying to monitor the waveform. That little oscilloscope just can't take it. But instead what I'm thinking about doing is just perhaps just changing the odd capacitor. Just, well, mainly this one over here, just to see what kind of effect it has. I increased the capacitance slightly. So that's 100 microfarad 400 volt compared to the 2.2 microfarad. This one is 2200 microfarad at 10 volts compared to the 4700. So I mean 470. Right, let's plug it in and see if there's any difference. Okay, that's the same as before, showing volts and amps. Right, I'll plug it in and see what happens. Oh god, that's bad. 3.9 volts. Hey, at least it's outputting something. Maybe if I took the load off it. Hey, 5.1. God, it's only a tiny load. 4.6. Let's see what happens if I apply some more. Oh dear, that just drops out to nothing. Just temporarily turn off the current limiting just to see if that's going to make any difference. 3.8. That's weird. Current limiting on, current limiting off. Drops down a little bit. God, it just really does not like those capacitors on it. Before when I tested it, before after that 0.4 amp test, the transistor and the transformer were getting quite hot. I mean, I just can't replace them. Let's see what happens if I just crank it up more. Nah, nothing. Absolutely nothing. Oh, I thought it was going to be a bit better than that. Oh well, c'est la vie. Oh, I misspoke a minute ago. When I implied the capacitors were bad for this, I think it's really because I've got long fly leads going over, which really doesn't help much. Well, none of this has gone to plan. Anyway, I hope you thought it was a laugh. See ya. Oh, I have a quick amendment. If I switch off the power supply, see how long the blue LED stays lit on the USB cable? Right, off. That was a fair old time to fade away, especially when it's sucking away a fifth of an amp.